possibilities
Hello,
there.
how are you?
It's kind of like.
Good.
Hi.
Are we still going to be videotaped tonight?
Are we recording now?
I don't read anything.
I don't know how it works.
Are we recording now?
Mm-hmm.
So what
All right. I'd like to call the October 22nd City of Gardner, Kansas Planning Commission meeting to order. Everyone will please rise and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll go ahead and start with roll call to my right with Chairman Barber.
Barber here.
Limer here.
Mater here.
Gilmore here.
Weatherford here.
Quorum is present. We'll go ahead and go to the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item from either the Planning Commission or from the floor, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Are there any items, any members of the commissioners of the commission that they would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion to approve the consent agenda made by Weatherford, seconded by Gilmore. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries with all in favor. Go ahead and move to the new business item, which we have one. Actually, we have two. Do we have a presentation from staff on new business item number one, PC-13-01, 2014 Planning Commission schedule and submittal dates?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Travis Hulse. I'm the planning technician here at the City of Gardner. Staff has prepared a calendar for you to look over, provided in your packets. This is for and in accordance with Gardner Municipal Code, which requires that we provide to you to approve a calendar for the upcoming 2014 year. Staff has prepared that calendar in accordance. If you will note, all Planning Commission meetings are set to happen on the fourth Tuesday of each month, with exceptions occurring in November and December. Those are for holidays happening in both of those months. As a staff, we recommend for the Planning Commission to consider and approve resolution number PC 13-01, the 2014 meeting schedule.
Any questions for staff?
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion amongst the commissioners this evening on the schedule?
No.
Here's the schedule. Looks good. I'd like to entertain a motion for this item.
Make a motion to adopt the PC 1301 2014 Planning Commission schedule and submittal dates as proposed.
I second. I'll third.
So we have a motion by Gilmore, seconded by Weatherford, to approve the PC-13-01, 2014 Planning Commission schedule and submittal dates. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries to approve PC-13-01, 2014 Planning Commission schedule and submittal dates. All in favor with none opposed. Moving along, new business item number 2, training continued. Do we have a presentation from staff?
We do.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at the last meeting, we began the Planning 101, we call it Planning 101 because it's fairly general. It's kind of some elementary concepts. It's not intended to be really comprehensive and cover everything about planning, but some things that we think you will encounter. And so this is just a continuation of that. You know, this is really intended to be an opportunity for you to ask questions or comment. You don't have to wait until the end. In fact, it'd probably be better if you didn't. If something comes up, please, we would invite you to ask questions or comment or whatever you'd like to do. Next, I guess I can control this. Excuse me. So I'm going to cover transportation planning. This is something that you'll come across in applications. It's helpful to kind of understand the terminology and the way this is looked at. Transportation planning is primarily done by the engineering staff for the city and not by the planning staff specifically, although we interact. And on applications, we will take comments from engineering staff related to transportation. There's long-range planning, there's current planning, same applies to transportation. So transportation plans, some long-range plans, the Gardner Transportation Master Plan, which is a large document with a long horizon, I believe it's 20 years. That's on the website. And it has recommendations for standards as well as projects, and it identifies arterials and collectors and local streets. US 56 Corridor Management Plan, as the title says, it applies to the US 56 corridor, and it has a lot of implications for access and future street alignments and how certain issues will be resolved in terms of alignments and access. Trip generation and parking. If we are reviewing an application, let's say it's an application for a rezone or a conditional use permit or something like that, some of the findings relate to the impact that project will have to the street network. And a lot of that might relate to the capacity of the street network to handle the additional trips that are generated by the project. And so there's trip generation that's determined or it's calculated by the engineering staff. Typically that's done using something called the ITE manual or ITE guidelines. ITE stands for Institute of Transportation Engineers, I believe. So it's fairly standard, but there are some judgment calls that have to be made sometimes about how to categorize uses in order to determine trip generation. Parking standards are addressed in the zoning code. We do have a parking chapter. There are also parking standards in the chapters that are specific to the zoning districts as well. These establish the number of parking stalls required for certain types of uses. Typically that's expressed in terms of number of stalls required per 250 square feet or per 1,000 square feet of leasable area, or service area, I think is the term used in our zoning code. Other transportation, a lot of what I'm going to talk about in the following slides deals with car transportation. A lot of that is what you see more of, but really transportation should cover the full spectrum of the modes of transportation, including sidewalks for pedestrians, pathways, and transit. Transit's not a big factor here, but potentially it could be. So just wanted to point that out.
Transit meaning
Transit meaning,
buses and...
meaning buses, I don't know the Johnson County system very well, but I know there's a regional system, bus
The
system.
Joe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the Joe, and there might even be some other forms of transit. I don't know if there's any, what's called paratransit, which some organizations might operate a shuttle system for seniors or disabled folks and that kind of thing. So, we normally think of streets as just providing a way to get from point A to point B, but really streets have different purposes in terms of transportation and mobility. Streets provide mobility and access, and really the different types of classifications of streets fall along a continuum, as in this diagram, hopefully you can see it, it's kind of blurry, but at one end of the continuum, streets or highways that provide maximum or good mobility but don't provide great access, or access is limited or controlled. And at the other end of the spectrum, local roads that provide great access but due to their design, partly because they do provide good access, aren't great for getting from point A to point B. They are intended to be operated at lower speeds, that kind of thing. So an arterial, we've just, in terms of Gardner's policy, there are really three functional classifications of streets. Functional classification of streets could also include interstates and expressways, and you could also break arterials into major and minor. Our code, we have an access management code that implements the Transportation Master Plan. It identifies major arterials and minor arterials, with major arterial being the highways and the interstates, which is kind of different, but that's just the way it's done. So the arterial